Welcome to Kune. Today's episode I'm going to talk about this fantastic book called Bruce Lee, The Tao of Gung Fu. Now, this is a book of notes that Bruce intended to make into a published book back in the 60s apparently, and they're really quite full-on notes, and I don't know how much of this made it into the Tao of Jeet but this was published posthumously by John Little with the permission of Linda Lee. And the reason why I'm talking to you about it today is because there's some very, very profound stuff in here, and particularly there's a chapter called Close Range Gung Fu, the sticking hands method of Wing Chun. And you can see a picture of Bruce and Master Yip Man there practicing Chi Sau. So I'm going to read to you a bit, and then we'll do a bit of demonstration. Me and my friend Pat, another Wing Chun practitioner from sunny Australia. So Bruce says here, Chi Sau, the so-called art of sticking hands, is a unique method of training from the Wing Chun style, a southern Chinese style headed by Mr. Yip Man of Hong Kong. It was actually from Mr. Yip that I took up the style of Wing Chun. Let me preface what I'm about to share with you on this unique method of cultivating sensitivity in one's arms by stating that it's next to impossible to learn proper Chi Sau from a book or from a video. One of the main reasons I'm so excited about this, what I'm about to read to you, and there's a lot in here and I'll be making more videos about this, is that I sincerely believe this is Master Yip talking to us, and this is true Wing Chun ideas, and what Bruce has written here completely it completely agrees with what Master Chu Shong Tin taught, what my master Sifu Jim Fung taught, and what his senior instructors taught, who I've learnt from. It's the same ideas. So the first thing he says is to learn Chi Sau properly requires an expert instructor who guides his students step by step and feeds him the right flow. In the hands of a novice, Chi Sau can turn into a jerky wrestling match. And anybody who's Chi Sau'd, especially when you start off, you know exactly what that feels like. We all tend to go at it and our egos flare up. You get another strong, somewhat aggressive guy or a girl, and you just end up fighting each other, trying to overcome each other, trying to find an opening to splat the other one with a nice punch. That's not really what Chi Sau's for. That sort of stuff can have its point, which I'll speak about a little bit later. But that's not what Chi Sau is. Chi Sau, as Bruce says next, it's a flowing energy exercise. A flowing energy exercise. So Chi Sau is an exercise in flowing energy. And he says, in this exercise we attach our hands to the opponent's hands, and we forget ourselves by following the movement of his hands, leaving our mind free to make its own counter movement without deliberation. So here, when he's talking about hands, it's really the whole arm. You could call it sticking arms. We don't really touch each other much with our hands when we're doing it. But the crucial thing to understand here is, he says, we forget ourselves, we follow the movement of the opponent's hands, and we leave our mind free to make its own counter movement without deliberation, which means without thinking about it. So the mind he's talking about is not the mind that thinks about it, obviously. It's that other mind, which I've talked about in other videos, being called the Nim Tao, from Sil Nim Tao, the body mind, the unconscious mind, the subconscious mind. the instinctive mind. He says, when the opponent expands, we contract. When he contracts, we expand. Where have we heard that before? Where have you heard it? Enter the Dragon, that's right. It was left out of the original when I saw it in the cinemas in the 70s. They didn't have this bit in, but when they released it again, I think with the VHS, but it might have been the DVD release back in the 90s, Bruce had made this segment and it got put back into the movies because he wanted it to be there. And basically, Bruce is talking to the old abbot, and Bruce says, when he expands, I contract. When he contracts, I expand. And when I hit, I don't hit. It hits all by itself. I've also made another video about that, about hitting and what it is. So the really important principle here is that when he expands, I contract. When he contracts, I expand. And you're not doing it with conscious deliberation. One of the top masters alive today is Sebak Frederick Moe, who lives in New Zealand. He was a student of Chu Shong Tin since the 50s. And I think he actually started like way back 55 before I was born. And he's a very wise man. And he says in an essay in Chu Shong Tin's second book of Wing Chun, he has an essay at the end, and he says, amongst other things, all punching in Wing Chun is initiated by the subconscious. He says it should be subconscious, meaning you don't try to do it, it just happens. Okay, so Bruce then goes on to say, the important thing is not to attempt to control the attack by resisting it with force, either physical or mental, but rather to control it by going with it, thus not asserting oneself against nature. And nature is also that big mind, not the human conscious mind, but the mind connected to nature. All these are simply based on the harmonious interchanging of the theory of yin and yang. As long as we plan our actions, as long as we are still using strength, we will not be able to feel our opponent's movement, thus failing to comprehend the true application of yin and yang. So yin and yang simply is, you know, when he expands, I contract. When he contracts, I expand. It's a unity of opposites. Now this stuff can do your head in, but you can feel it happening and then start to understand the actual fact of it. So Bruce says the important thing is not to attempt to control the attack by resisting it with force, either physical or mental, but to control it by going with it. So I'll just get Pat to come up, and we're going to do Dan Chi Sau, which is two-arm Chi Sau. Now I will make videos about more technical things about how a Bong Sau works, and Tan Sau and the different things, and Fuk Sau, but the crucial thing I want to get through to you is that when you Chi Sau, stay light, stay empty, stay in the same state you are when you do the forms, which should be effortless, light, not trying. Now, Pat's an experienced practitioner, and he's not sort of, you know, on me trying to shove me all over the place. He's just really light because he understands that that's what you do, and in a really practical way, not resisting is how we stick. So if you put more muscle on me, Pat, so as I start to feel it, I could sort of fight back. But if I don't, if I just keep letting everything out of my muscles, as it keeps sort of giving me heavy. So even if I sort of relax a bit more and come in a little bit, or I could sort of come out, but the main thing I want to do is resist the urge to start fighting back. So he's basically expanding. By putting pressure on me, he's expanding, and I'm contracting. I'm sort of taking him in. By you sort of push on that arm there. If I fight back, immediately I can feel it right through my shoulder. But if I just relax my whole body, even if I come to there, I'm not particularly worried. It's not that it's a good position necessarily to be in, but in this practice, you're teaching yourself to be able to, you know, if I'm out there, if I'm sort of fighting, I feel like I'm fighting. If I sing, relax my legs, and I can think of drawing him in, so he's expanding, I contract, I'm drawing his weight and power into my centre and dissipating it. So once I've got him in there, then you sort of back off. As you back off, I just naturally stick to you. And if you, let's just sort of roll again. Let's just change arms. And just a point, this is, you know, a Chi Sau point, but as you're rolling, when you feel that burn in your shoulders, which you'll always feel, especially when you start a session, as soon as you get like that, just change. And I've been doing this 21 years, but I'm not ashamed to say I still tense up and feel it sometimes. I'm feeling it now because I haven't rolled for a few weeks probably, but I just want to stay empty and light, and pretty quickly you'll start to feel a real a soft confidence come into your arm, and you will notice if somebody's like that on you, they'll start to bounce. You won't really feel much, but the important thing is by contracting, by taking his force in, I sort of get him and I stick to him, so you sort of punch at me. So if I'm sticking properly, he can't get me, but I'm not thinking about it. I'm just staying in. As long as I stay in, I'm protected. If I start to fight back, he'll easily find me. He'll find a gap easily. He'll just make a gap. But if you can stay contracted as he's expanding, what you'll find is that you become like water, and you just stay in. You'll find this pressure, you'll feel a pressure, but it's like a soft pressure going back towards them. The more you come in, the more you'll feel a soft pressure going towards them. And with an experienced person, when you've been rolling for quite a while, you'll start to feel sort of gaps will happen where you'll even hit them accidentally sometimes. That's why I always aim there. I don't aim there because it can get really intense. And when I practice with my senior, Richard Antonini, who's taught me a heck of a lot of my Wing Chun, sometimes we sort of hop into each other, and he especially tests me out, you know, as a sort of a teaching aid. He sort of really tests me out, puts a lock on me, and a few times I've smacked him in the mouth because I didn't mean to, but I was doing it right, and you know, because he was sort of doing it wrong a little bit to test me, my hand just hit him, boom, before I could even, it was like, oh, sorry, felt like a dog that bit his master. But Pat's really good. He's actually got really nice, light, sticky arms. But this is really basic Chi Sau. Some people call it flat Chi Sau, but I think it's essential to work on this for a long time. And then as you get better, you know, start to play with each other and, you know, try things. But I don't really like the idea of too much consciously trying to find gaps and stuff. I'm an absolute believer in this idea that the subconscious should do the hitting. And so I think what you want to do is retract your ego. Yeah, you contract your ego as much as your muscle. Like, this might seem a weird thing to say, but not wanting to win, not wanting to be good at Wing Chun, not wanting to be good at Chi Sau is one of the secrets to becoming good at it. One of the secrets to winning. Now, that's hard to swallow, but it is true. It's a soft power, Wing Chun. It's the power of softness. So if you can just think about what I'm saying. Now, if you disagree with me, I totally get it. But hopefully I'll be making more videos with my friend here. He's a really nice bloke, and you'll see I've given him a Daiwei Kune shirt. It's the first one I've actually given to somebody, because he's so kindly offered to help me make a video, and maybe some more. He's got a wonderful, almost like a Chinese palace up the top with jade tree and big red sort of gates, and it's amazing. It's just a bit too blowy today. But if you get a chance to get this book, it's actually online if you want to check it out on Google Books. There's stuff in here that I don't particularly think is that profound. You know, Bruce wrote a lot of stuff just looking at everybody's art, and you know, what do they call it? Full disclosure, I do not believe for a second that Bruce Lee discovered something better than Wing Chun. I think, I love Bruce, you know, I worshipped him as a young fellow. I was into him from, you know, the start. 1975, I first saw him in his movies. 2 years after he passed away, and, you know, got into kickboxing and what we thought of as Kung Fu back then. And, but, you know, he was really about halfway through his Wing Chun training, and I believe he was coming back to it, and I think he would agree with me now. And he would be a great master, and it would be great to learn off Bruce Lee, an old grey-headed Kung Fu master. Sadly, he didn't make it past 32 or 33. Anyway, check it out, and see you again soon.